The UDU, Upland Development United, installed their neighborhood nodes throughout the entirety of Upland. Their reach was unmatched.
Welcome everybody to a new series called Who is UDU? We're hoping to put this together and get to know some of the team. And first up, we've got n36C. How you doing, mate?
Doing great. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? Any story behind your name?
Yeah, I think the story behind my name is pretty much just a mishmash of things whenever I was into gaming in my teenage years. Doesn't really make too much sense right now, but basically the N is like stands for negative. It's like a minus sign. A lot of games you can just directly put the minus sign, but you can't do it for usernames on some platforms. So it's actually like minus 36 degrees Celsius. That's probably how you could think of it, but nothing super meaningful at this point.
Nice. And is that, that got something relevance to where you're from, minus 36?
More like bands and silly things from back in the day, but yeah.
Very good. And I should say too, because we've been getting a lot of feedback that people aren't introducing themselves. I'm Ben 36 in Upland. So where are you from?
So I'm living in the US. I'm kind of all over the place with COVID right now, but I guess most relevant to Upland is I have lived in both San Francisco and New York at one point or another. So that's given me some help.
Oh, that's cool. Well, everything I know about San Francisco and New York, I think I've learned from Upland. So that must be cool to have an inside perspective.
Yeah, it makes me a little biased towards certain areas, especially in places like San Francisco. It's like the neighborhoods that got picked up by different people don't always correlate with like the hot neighborhoods in real life. So it's interesting to get a view on other places.
I can only imagine. Yep. So what do you do in real life?
I'm a software developer, mostly like backend technologies, a little bit of machine learning, stuff like that.
Awesome. And what are your interests outside of Upland?
Quite a few different things. I mean, I think more, I guess I would say like sports and hobbies and stuff. I do play a little bit of tennis, a little bit of golf. I'm studying Japanese for language learning. I think that's been kind of fun, something just like to challenge myself. I guess it has to do with like software development, wanting to learn new languages, and same as like learning computer languages. Like I guess I have to learn another human language as well. So I'm doing a little bit of that. Yeah, really into tea, good food, good coffee, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, I studied Japanese for several years, both before and when I was living there, and it's an interesting language to learn, but my gosh, you can lose it quick. I'm pretty much only fluent now if I have a few too many drinks. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yep.
Yeah, the biggest problem for me is really having like a speaking partner. So I can do a lot of reading and kind of reading. But yeah, if you're not speaking it with somebody, that's actually a skill. So if you don't do it, you're just never going to really learn that. So I'm a little bit of like a textbook learner. My speaking and listening is pretty terrible, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that. I worked with a guy in Japan who he was an American guy who'd studied Japanese for ages and ages by himself, and he was like really fluent, but his pronunciation was just horrendous, and he got kind of really upset and ended up going back home early because he'd done all this study, and then he'd go to speak to people and they were just like, I don't know what you're talking about, mate, you know, like just simple words because he'd been learning from a textbook. Yeah, it was like his pronunciation was totally wrong.
Yeah, and I'd imagine something like Mandarin is just like next level, where the tone's actually really do matter. I mean, there's some inflection with Japanese, but the one thing I do like about it is, at least unlike English, like it sounds the same no matter what. It's no like long A or short A, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
you have to be
nice.
careful though too, because for those that don't know, my wife is Japanese, and I learned a lot of my Japanese conversational skills from her. If I talk to somebody that doesn't know my background, they kind of look at me a bit funny, like, why are you speaking like a girl? There are certain words or certain ways of pronouncing things that, yeah, makes people raise their eyebrow a little bit.
I had a teacher for a while and she was a female as well. So yeah, a lot more like nays and things that I'm probably not supposed to have.
Very good. So speaking of Upland, how long have you been playing?
A little over 6 months now. I think I joined like late November last year.
Yep. And what's your current status in the game?
I'm an executive now. Yeah, I don't remember the exact date on how long that's been. It's probably been a few months on that as well.
Yep. And what did you pick for your custom block explorer?
So I picked the Japanese teapot. Like I said, I'm really into tea, and it's kind of something that I've always been into. It's been a little bit of a theme in my life. It's part of the reason why I studied Japanese. I wanted to, at some point, go and visit the tea field in person. And most of them, well, all of them being in rural Japan. I knew I wasn't going to have a hard time getting there unless I knew a little bit.
Nice. So yeah, that's a Kyushu, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
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 It's
exactly.
one of my prized possessions.
Nice. Yeah, if you look at, I put like a little small blurb. It's called Kyushu. If you look at the like block explorer story in the game.
Cool. Very good. So you said you come from a gaming background. Is that how you found Upland?
No, actually, I mean, I found it through the Brave Explorer ads. Just looking around, and I was kind of looking into crypto. I'm not like super into it, but I was like interested in blockchain, like doing a lot of like development work. It's like, okay, I kind of want to wrap my head around this, see what it's all about. I was interested in that. So to see it was kind of gaming on the blockchain, I was like, why not? I'll give it a try. So yeah, that's how I got into it, but definitely much more of a gaming background, I would say.
Nice. And do you remember what your first property was that you bought?
Yeah, I'd actually been thinking about it a little bit recently, like over the last month. I was like, I think I should probably go back and like look at what my first property was. I was kind of interested in that. Then I went back and realized that I had actually sold it once I found it. And just going through, it was in Fresno. So I'm dropping Fresno properties here and there from time to time and realized I sold it. So I actually just recently went back and bought it. It was, let's see, it was 4598 West Oak Park Drive, and that was in Fig Garden Loop, Fresno. Nice. So I just got dropped into the game and it said, gave me some money. I was like, I'll just buy the things that are right next to my block explorer. And I bought 3 on the same street, thankfully. Opened some random pinata, didn't know what that was. And that's kind of how it started.
Nice. And if I remember correctly, you just purchased that back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I was, just realized I didn't have it anymore and I wanted it again. So thankfully it wasn't some crazy price, so I got it.
Yeah, I actually had a look recently for my first one, and I used UpX World, which was really easy to track it back. And I found the property and I went, and it was still available, but it wasn't up for sale. And I've been bombarding that person with offers, and I've just been getting nothing. So I think it's a dead account, unfortunately. So that's a bit of a bummer.
I actually don't know how UpX World does it, because I swear I actually went onto the ledger and was like trying to look, and it doesn't put it on there if you're a visitor, I think. So I'm not sure how it had it, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it seemed to correlate pretty well with me, I think. I thought I was in a different area, but much like yourself, I got dropped in an area and I bought 3 or 4 properties. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I was in that area myself. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get mine back. So Upland, is it just a game?
I think I would say in like if you think of it in like the most narrow sense of like what a game is, or people think of video games, stuff like that, I would probably say no. I mean, there's definitely like more than 50% of the game is outside of the app, I would say, like being in Discord, talking with people, having this conversation right now, like these kind of things I all consider part of the experience. So I would say in that sense, maybe not, but then I guess if you take like a broad view on like game and play in general, I think, I don't know, building products at a company, that's play, that's a game. I guess if you think about like making art, stuff like that, you can kind of consider that like fun activities and trying to build a metaverse. So yeah, depends on how you view it. But yeah, I guess I would say that it's in some senses a little more than a game, but in other senses it is.
Very good. And what are some things that you know now that you wish you had learnt when you first started?
I think just more like, I guess, market mechanics and like how to buy and sell property. I have no background in that whatsoever. And I really just didn't, until I was able to play with some of the tools that people had built and get on Discord and talk to people, see what other people were selling for, trying to understand like buying strategies, like trying to mirror some of the better players, see what kind of stuff they're doing, what activities they're doing. I guess if I could have a little more of that insight, or even just, I guess like some of the stuff that DJ Shorts is doing, right? Giving kind of these videos where you can just watch them and it'll tell you like, this is what I'm looking at. I'm a little more of an experienced player. These are the reasons why I'm buying this. I think that kind of stuff is super helpful.
Nice. Yeah, when I first started, there was nothing like that. There was no Discord. It was Telegram. It was a completely different situation. So new players now, they might not have the same starting opportunities that we might have had, but for all the tools and that they got available, that's a massive benefit to them starting out.
Absolutely.
So what do you think your greatest success in Upland has been so far?
Say depending on the aspect, like I think from I think one of the core things we're working on here too is like giving back. And I think from that standpoint, I think one of my successes for giving back was part of this Play, Give, Connect campaign that Stirs Merlin was running for St. Jude's. And so that was pretty awesome. I was able to donate a good amount of money for that and do some property auctions. And it felt really good to be a part of a community doing something good and giving back to others. So I consider that to be like a pretty huge success. I'm actually wearing the shirt. I decided to wear it. So I got the Play, Give, Connect shirt, got the QSU on it. Cool. It was all part of that. So that was awesome. I guess more on like the gaming financial side, like some speculation in Chinatown and Tribeca, it turned out to be right there. So that was contemplated if I was going a bit too hard in those neighborhoods, but it paid off. So that's been good.
Yeah, and we've just got notification too that they're going to open up some more cities in Vanilla. So off we go again with their speculation.
Yeah, I just ran out of optics in Oakland, so we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat trying to scramble back.
Yeah, for sure.
So if that was your greatest success, what do you think your biggest failure has been?
I don't know. I haven't had any like really massive failures, thankfully. I mean, I think I've bought some stuff that was worthless that I just had to, or that I felt was worthless at least, that I just had to hang on to for a while and kind of ride the market and see how the mechanics of the game work. I bought some parks in Fresno, and they were pretty expensive for me at the time. Like I was under 100K net worth, and I maybe spent like 15K on a park. So I was like almost 20% of my whole net worth on one property, which from an investment standpoint is usually not a great idea to spend whatever, more than 5% or something on one deal. But I went for it. And then I was like, I don't know if I can ever sell this thing. And so I was hanging on to it for a while and had a lot of my liquidity locked up for some time. But I mean, in the end, I was able to sell it. I didn't take any really like major loss there. So
and was that were those buys, was that in relation to trying to speculate on the spark mining or anything like that?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like some combination of being able to build up in a park, just like a decent sized land, if there'd be some like entertainment value to it there. And then really just having like houses kind of surrounding the park with like good views. I figured it'd be good for property value.
Nice. And what keeps you playing now?
I think I'm realizing a little bit just from the kind of waiting in Oakland and trying to get things ironed out right now, that just being able to constantly be on the lookout for new properties in the game itself is like a big driver for me. I found myself being a slightly more distant than usual, just kind of waiting for some updates to come through. So I think that's definitely part of it. yeah, I'm on Discord every day, and I think that's the other major part of it, is just interacting with other people on the team and other people in the community. It's a lot of fun to just goof around and have some fun on Discord no matter what.
So do you use, obviously you use UpX World, but do you use any of the bots or anything in the fan server and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I initially just went into like the basic level of the fan server, and some of the channels I found very useful. I liked UpX World. I wanted to support at the time what Hacker was doing there. So yeah, I was just appreciative of that service, and so I yeah, became, I think I'm a big fan now, and so yeah, I get access to some of those bot server channels. So yeah, those are helpful.
Nice. And just to clarify for new people, those aren't buying and selling bots that are around. Those are just market information bots, basically, that shows, you know, people that list properties under mint and that sort of thing, or who's buying what where. Yeah, I found
it's nice to get a feed. It basically just gives you like a feed of even people putting stuff up for sale. You can kind of keep an eye on it in the background and see like what's going up in what neighborhoods, because sometimes yeah, that's where a lot of the really good deals will come in. I bet some players seem to be better at it than me, because a lot of them are gone by the time I get there, but yeah.
Oh yeah, there's some really fast people there. So you said you started off in Fresno. Is that where you feel you're based, or are you based somewhere else?
I mean, at this point, I would consider myself based in a little more in San Francisco. I have quite a few properties there, specifically, yeah, like Midtown Terrace. I'm really excited with what we're doing there. I would consider that to be my home, but I have little stations here and there. Some other UDU members maybe we're looking into stuff in the future for different areas. So I have a bit in Manhattan, mostly like Upper West Side, West Village, East Village there. Got a pretty decent size of stuff in Park Slope in Brooklyn. So yeah, I would say those are kind of other like side projects.
So you got a good spread pretty much all through everything that's available at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's been kind of a ongoing discussion about like the gamer market in San Francisco versus like the investor market in Manhattan. So it's good to have maybe a little bit of both.
Nice. And what are some of the future features that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the property development one is the big one of the ones that we're aware of on the roadmap. I think, yeah, I'm just really excited to see how I love playing SimCity back in the day. So that's kind of like starting to merge into that, which I think is really cool. I think not necessarily stuff that I've heard that's on the roadmap, but I think with it being like a blockchain game, it'd be cool to have some more like financial instruments, things that you have from other games. Like how can you, I was talking about the other day, and I think someone said they were going to do it, but even like, what would a liquidity pool look like? Could you have like a liquidity pool of properties? We have a bunch of people that are working together now and make it easier to swap things around depending on your needs, especially when property development comes in and Spark's limited. And I think interesting things like that. I find it very interesting that I've been able to learn a little bit more in a concrete way how market dynamics work. Like you read some of this stuff online and you can kind of read a Wikipedia entry and very roughly understand what's going on, but to actually see how buying and selling works in the market in a concrete way in Upland is kind of giving me a different perspective on those things. Even just like watching like you just go in and bring up the cheapest properties and kind of see how they stagnate at like a particular level. Like everyone's just listing everything at 15K in San Francisco right now. It's going to sit there for days, and that's kind of like resistance. Yeah. And so you see how that's happening, and every once in a while someone will, Oakland's opening up, when you dump some at 14.95, and it just kind of sits there for a while. And so to be able to see how that works is pretty cool.
Yeah, it kind of mirrors the buy and sell walls that we see in crypto fairly often. Yep. Yeah, we're kind of stuck without the opportunity now to use burners, like you say, with a liquidity pool. It used to be pretty straightforward to send, you know, UpX backwards and forwards between players. But I think the last time I checked, a burner is now worth 6K. So it's not really a burner, is it? You know, so it used to be that you could eat the fees and pay that little bit extra to transfer some UpX, but at the moment that's just not really an option.
Yeah, I've thought about it a small amount. It seems like just being able to directly send people money would be the easiest way, like for UpX, really.
I guess they're just worried about multi-accounters or something for that, because we have been requesting something like that for a long time. So Maybe they need to introduce a KYC system, or yeah, I'm not sure, but we
Yeah,
definitely need something.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, I think similarly to some of the capture stuff, it's like if you do some sort of KYC process, maybe you can get around some of those limitations. But
Nice. And yeah, you've moved into, let's see if I can go right. There it is, the MTU. So I assume you'll be doing some property development there. Is there any other areas that you're really keen on?
yeah, I got initially set up with Junior Courier and Merced Manor. So they got me on board when we were doing some of the very first like spud wars and neighborhood type stuff there. So they kind of got me started into the whole property development scene. So I was really excited about that. So I'll probably be dedicating a little bit of Spark in the beginning towards that as well, and splitting that between MTU and Merced Manor. I would say those are only real concrete plans at this time.
Nice. And yeah, that whole Spud Wars thing and seeing how that played out, where big groups of players were working together, and then later with the Woodward Park explosion, how, you know, there was hundreds and hundreds of players working together. That was all a huge influence on how Midtown Terrace was set up, and then eventually to UDU.
Yeah, I was really interested to see some of the power that might be coming from bigger neighborhoods. At least I realized that in the spot where there seemed to be very little coordination and mission, for instance, but it did insanely well, just because it has a lot of people. So I'll be curious to see how that works out with Spark distribution and some of the bonuses that might be going to neighborhoods.
Nice. Now, I know your business plans because we work together to get you situated in the business area of Midtown Terrace.
Sure.
How much of that are you willing to share, or can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can share a little bit. I'm a software developer. I'm not an artist, but I'm pretty interested in the whole NFT stuff that's going on right now. So yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out how I can sort of tie in like my skills in software development into art. Like, can I write code to generate art in some way?
Cool.
So I've been looking into some different techniques there to maybe do something along those lines and basically come up with kind of like an indoor decor sort of thing. I'd like to play around with that a bit. So that's a little bit of a loose plan. I think it'll materialize more as more details come out about how this is all going to work. So that's probably a component of it. Another component of it is looking to do sort of like a cafe. I think my grand vision is really just like I said earlier, I'm super into tea. It's been a theme for me, and it's like, how can I kind of bring that experience into a metaverse or into the virtual world? And I think maybe sharing that with people in a cafe, or yeah, doing some sort of maybe like intro Japanese or meditation or something like that in a cafe. I think that kind of thing could be cool as well. So those
Nice.
are sort of those are rough plans as of today. And like I said, as more information comes out, I think it'll materialize more.
Yeah, I think there will be definitely scope within the game and then the wider metaverse to really support all of those kind of niche opportunities. Should be pretty exciting, I think. Where do you think you see yourself and the game in 1 year?
Yeah, I hope that'll be a big part of it. Honestly, that's the thing that I think will probably change the most for me, is just the way in which I'm going to interact with the game. Like, I hope I'm not still just like looking for properties to mint or something in a year. Like, I hope there's a little more of a complex feel to the game. And so yeah, I'm really kind of driving in that direction with sort of the next step. It's like I said, it's always fun to keep growing. I mean, there's a little bit of that sort of FOMO feeling to just kind of keep getting more and more properties and acquiring things and growing, and that's fun. That's more of the gamer aspect of it. So I'm a little more curious in some of the other pieces as well.
Yeah, I when they dropped that announcement today about the, what is it, 4 new cities or something? Yeah, I was kind of half looking at it thinking, I think I'm going to be okay to sit one of those out. You know, there has to come a time where you got to stop chasing everything. There's only so much you can do, especially when we spread to international cities and that sort of thing. Lucky for us within the UDU, I think between all our members, we're going to get some pretty good coverage no matter what. So yeah,
and I think it's really great for new players too. I was like, you got to have that, right? It's those, like we were saying earlier, those opportunities we got in Fresno. I think that's important to keep some supply there. on the other hand, it's nice to see like some of the cities have at least sold out, and we'll kind of see how that matures and what that's all about as well.
So if that's the 1-year plan, what's the 5-year plan?
I mean, to be completely honest, I haven't thought a ton about the 5-year plan. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, how far into like Ready Player One do we go in 5 years? I mean, technology moves so fast. I have no idea how robust this sort of metaverse will become. But yeah, I think I'm just curious to see where it takes us for now. I haven't. I'd like to start running some businesses maybe, and having more conversations like this with people, and sort of growing like that.
How realistic do you think the whole Ready Player One situation is?
I think I mean, with virtual reality and stuff like that, it could probably go pretty far. So yeah, it's hard to speculate. I mean, I think you always read those like science fiction stuff about the future, and most of them get it wrong. Some people are pretty good at it, but most of the time we have no idea what's coming. Like we all thought we'd be in flying cars right now, but we're not. Yeah, I think in other ways it surprises you. No one thought you would. In some ways, we're already cyborgs. Like we have these things we carry around with us all the time that can tell us anything we'd ever want to know. So it might surprise us in other ways too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you had told me 5 years ago that I would have put 2 Bitcoin into a mobile game, I would have thought you were crazy. If you had told me 10 years ago something about Bitcoin, I would have thought you were really mad, you know? So yeah, the speed with which things are moving is really, it's really full on.
Yeah, I think yeah, Bitcoin in particular has been, or really cryptocurrency has been interesting. I think I had always kind of heard the thing that money wasn't really real. It's just kind of a social construct in some ways. But I always had the paper, and so I couldn't really understand it. But now it helps me understand it a bit more, how that kind of thing works.
Nice. Now I had a look through our DMs before. Let me see. You first sent me a message to say hello at the start of January this year. And we ran through a bunch of collection swaps together. And
yeah, that's right.
You ended up purchasing some Fresno collection properties off me. I think it was Lowell, and was it something else?
No, it was Blackstone. You had 3 Blackstone properties that I got from you back then.
One of my regrets, possibly. Short-term liquidity, short-term goals, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you seem to be growing in the game really well. And I think one of your principles that I've kind of learned from was, yeah, I mean, you said you sold some properties for undermint, but it's because you had better opportunities. And so you don't always have to be kind of like tied to, you don't want to be too anchored to any particular thing at any given time. Like it's a lot of things in the game are going to grow, and it's possible that pretty much everything we sold, if we were to go back and look at it today, it's going to be worth more than it was when we sold it. So
yeah, well, I've sold hundreds and hundreds of properties under mint. I was pretty well known for having my random fire sales. You know, selling San Francisco properties for 2,800, 3,000. You know, and now look at where they are now; they're worth 15,000 each. So, but yeah, you're right. It was always take a short-term loss for a longer-term gain. So,
yeah,
and yeah, we discussed in DM every now and then some purchases that you were looking to get into, and we kind of got to know each other through those kind of backwards and forward discussions. And then on the 22nd of March, I believe, you bought into Midtown Terrace, and you are, if I'm getting this right, you are member number 4 of UDU. So you're right behind myself as the founder, T. Davis, and DJ Shorts. So you're right up there with our long-term members, and you're in super early. Can you tell me anything about how you got involved, or why you got involved?
Yeah, I think it did have a lot to do with some of those conversations and the rapport we had developed over the time that I've been in the game. Yeah, I always kind of valued your advice and saw some of the things you were doing, and saw that you're pretty serious about it. So I liked that aspect of it. I think I couldn't resist like the samurai logo and stuff like that, the evil empire. When I first saw it, I mean, I thought, okay, like I want to do something with tea or some sort of Japanese motif, something like that. So I'm like, oh man, this is it. I'm all in. So that was a big part of it for me as well. So like that in combination with our history, it was a done deal.
Yeah, so for those that don't know that are watching, UDU has evolved from basically me setting up my business area in Midtown Terrace, and then I kind of pushed to get that sold out, and we kind of, I don't even remember how it started, but it started off this whole samurai thing based on my Block Explorer, and then we got into, it was called the Evil Empire, and I got some feedback on that maybe that's not the best move going forwards to be calling yourself the Evil Empire. And I did a bit of personal reflection on some various aspects of that, and from there it evolved into Midtown Terrace United, and then you were fully on board in that respect. And then of course, for those that have followed the history, Venom came on board and bought up Balboa Terrace, and then from there the UDU was born to give us some more scope for moving forward in the future. So what's your current, do you have any current role in the UDU?
As of right now, I'm mostly trying to help out other players in any way that I can. I think that's one thing I'd like to see a little bit more of too, is like kind of understanding a little bit more like what other people are working on in particular, and what other ways that I could maybe jump in. I think that would be kind of cool to see. But for right now, until we get more concrete on property development, just helping people in some of our new neighborhoods, trying to get NDNs together. Just helping people in Discord as well.
Yeah, and we're still trying to find our feet too. Everything's been moving so rapidly. We've been expanding and then pulling back and reevaluating and that sort of thing. For people that don't know, n36C said NDN. That stands for our neighborhood development nodes, and there's two examples, Balboa Terrace and Midtown Terrace being examples. And we have several of those in development. A few of them we can't really discuss yet because they're still ongoing. What's something that you think we do well in the UDU?
I would say along those lines, recruiting probably, like the fact that we just have a lot of people that really like what we're doing, getting people on board. I think, I mean, I've known working at companies, like getting people to like share your mission and come on board and grow rapidly is one of the more challenging aspects of running things. And so, I mean, I think we've basically gone like an order of magnitude in a month from like 5 to 50 people. So with that comes some chaos for sure.
Yeah.
And so, it's understandable, but I think we've been managing it very well for for where we are right now.
Yeah, I think we got our 60th member last night. Plus we have, I think we're almost at 12 now in the UDU Academy as well. So yeah, it's definitely getting out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been focusing so heavily at the moment on trying to get the handbook out. So we have some, like you said, with the mission and the values, some core reference material that people can, look through. And so we're all on the same page. I think realistically, we're still trying to work that out a bit ourselves. So.
Yeah, I mean, I believe pretty strongly in having that at least be a bit more explicit, like we're doing. So I'm liking that, having everybody kind of understand like what are the core values of the group, what do we like, what are we trying to achieve here.
Okay, and is there any other aspects of the game or the metaverse that you think we could get involved with?
I mean, I think we're doing good with what we have right now, to be honest. Like, I think we're growing so quick that it's hard to expand too rapidly. I think just kind of getting a handle on what we want to do with what we have right now is a pretty good focus. So I'm happy with that.
Nice. And we know that you're heavily involved in the MTU. Are there any other of our nodes that you're invested in or involved in?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few properties in the BTU as well. Not as heavily involved there yet, but we'll see how that goes in the future. But for now, I know that it's going to be hard to develop like hundreds of properties. So I want to kind of keep my focus in the short term here and see how that goes.
Yep, for sure. And just wrapping up, is there anything you want to promote? Do you have any properties to sell or?
No, nothing too much right now. I think along with you, been delisting some stuff in a way. So yeah, I have a few properties up for sale, but nothing that I'm looking to get rid of too hot. Yeah, no big sales for me right now. But yeah, you can find me on Discord. I think that's going to be the main place I'm on pretty much every day. So if you ever need anything or want to chat or talk about anything in more detail with what I've talked about here, happy to talk further.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for being the first guinea pig for this interview series, and it's been great to get to know you a bit better.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we set this up, and it'll be good to see more people as we continue to do this.
Right on. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.